Welcome to Raising Scholars, an educational podcast brought to you by the Lake Havasu Unified School District in partnership with Shawn, Lawless, and 32 Bravo Media. This is a podcast designed for families to hear all about the mission and vision of learning which is being carried out at LHUSD for the academic and social-emotional growth of students in our district. It's also a place to share tips, tools, advice, and reflections on how our schools, families, and community can help our students make the most of their potential in their K-12 learning experience. We're so excited to be bringing you conversation on a variety of topics from educators, parents, administrators, alumni, and even students across our district. Our goal for you each time is to leave with a little bit more knowledge on how to help your students be successful. So let's dive on in together. Our next speaker is Helen Trescher. She's been a parent of our LHUSD district for 18 years. She's also been a citizen of Lake Havasu for over 18 years as well. She is a proud parent of 4 children, Taryn, Jake, Charlie, and Chloe. She is a busy realtor working full-time and putting in her hours as a proud parent supporting her girls in our schools. In recent years, she became involved in the Jamaica Elementary PTSO, stepping up as president and working hard with other parents in our PTSO group to grow support for the school. She then stepped up as vice president of Thunderbolt Middle School PTAC as well, working to support the current president, Deborah Miller, to improve parent engagement at the school and partner with administration to improve parent and school partnerships. We invited her here today to get a parent perspective on how schools can engage parents and the many ways parents can become a larger part of how we support the children in our LHUSD schools. We can't wait to hear from her today. Helen, welcome. We're so excited to have you for Raising Scholars podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be here.
So I really wanted to reach out to you because you're such an involved parent, and the topic that we wanted to talk about today is how parents can invest in their schools to create partnerships that thrive both for their schools but for their students, right? Mm-hmm. And at being the principal at Jamaica for so many years and having worked with you, I've been able to see how you've been able to get involved and so many of the other parents that are there with you involved in those parent organizations. Mm-hmm. And not just the parent organizations, but really just being able to come get involved in so many different ways, right? Whether you're involved in a PTSO or whatever. So I wanted to be able to dive into this topic with you today. But with any new interviewee, I always like to let them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about themselves. So really tell us a little bit of background about you and your experience as a parent in LHUSD. How did you get involved?
Well, so I've lived here for 18 years and I came with 2 small boys at that time, and at that time I was a working mom, so I wasn't as involved as I am now. I worked full-time 8 to 5 and wasn't necessarily, I knew about the help needed and such at Starline,
okay,
because that's an elementary.
That's where your boys went. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I then all I could do was do the best I could as far as getting involved here and there. But actually, when I physically started getting more involved was when I had my daughters at Jamaica Elementary, right, when Charlie started kindergarten, right, when I had a teacher approach me to come and help out. So that's when it started.
So, and that teacher, so before that particular teacher approached you, I'm guessing you knew mostly about the events. What prompted, you to attend that day? Was it because she asked you, or was it because you really were that much more interested? I mean, I'm just wondering with some of the parents out there that are hesitant to get involved, what was it about them approaching you that made it so much more of an important thing to go and check it out? At
the time, the school was I'd seen flyers. Mm-hmm. There was a flyer, a newsletter. I mean, the school was definitely doing its part to put out there for volunteers, for help, or for just letting the parents know what was going on at the school. But the teacher had just come up to me because we had conversed about a few different things, and she said, you would be a great addition to the PTSO group. Sure. Would you mind attending one of our meetings? Right. And I said, sure.
Well, and your trust is in the teacher, right? And if the teacher says this is an important thing for you, then you go, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I'm personally extremely thankful for that teacher who reached out to you, because I can tell you that both for Jamaica and for Thunderbolt, you've made a big difference. And so So I want to dive into a little bit more about that for the parents that are listening today. Being part of the PTSO organizations and the PTAC for Thunderbolt, what are some of the needs that you see that our parent organizations have that you see that need to be filled? Like, how can parents help fill those needs?
In my opinion, I believe that parents can help tremendously by volunteering.
Okay.
Volunteering in person as much as they can at events, fundraisers, just being present at the school.
Okay.
Whether it's at the school or at a fundraiser at a restaurant or what have you, just participating.
Are there any, so for those parents that, you mentioned that when you had your boys, you worked quite a bit and it was hard. And I know for me as a parent, like, there are just times when it gets really busy.
Right.
So if there are parents out there who really do want to be involved, but just that time management is just so difficult, what kind of things do PTSOs have going on, or the schools have going on, that you were able to get involved with, or that you would say that they should get involved with, that maybe isn't so much time, but maybe are other things that PTSOs need? I'm thinking of, like, you guys just recently had a musical, right? Okay, so what kind of needs did they have from parents at that time?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a lengthy question.
Well,
so what as you were explaining all that, I was thinking about, what could a parent do, right? From that is physically can't be there or tied to their job. We at our level, we are trying to utilize social media as much as we can.
Right.
So being tuned in, visiting, whether it's the websites or the social media pages, they will then know and find out what's going on, right? What's actively going on in their school and other schools as well, which then gives them the opportunity to participate and help out, whether it's, an outside activity or a fundraiser. Okay.
Like donations, things like that. I mean, I just know that
so
there's a lot of things that we do at schools.
So when learning about what activities are coming up and such, then that can help dictate what they can help out with, whether it's just a flat, money donations, baking, helping out, or doing things from their
crafts,
home, crafts and such, and then dropping them off with their kids. Of course,
It made me think of, I know that there used to be, not used to be, there still are, but lots of different things that you would have to do to where, like, for example, Teacher Appreciation Week, right? There's a lot of hands on deck for that. And so it takes a lot of people to pull that off. Yeah. So there are, like, sometimes many simple tasks that you guys can reach out to parents for. So it's really, from what I'm hearing you say, is that really just paying attention, so that if there is a social media post or a flyer or something that goes home that says, we need your help, that you can respond. And sometimes it's as simple as, we just need this little thing, versus we need you to show up, right?
Right.
Okay.
It could just be baked goods. It could be dropping off supplies.
So thinking back to the parent organization question specifically, what do you feel like are the best ways we can keep our parent organizations going? Like, I know that right now at some of the schools that they have positions that need to be filled in those parent organizations. So how are you guys going about recruiting parents? And if a parent that's listening wants to get more involved, maybe in the board, what would be your advice to them?
I would say right now, again, we're utilizing social media as much as we can, because that gets the word out, right?
Yeah.
But word of mouth, talking about it, just like I was approached, just like many people are approached. It's people talking to other people, parents talking to parents, teachers talking to parents, just talking to people in our community about it. And
coming from a principal's perspective, if they don't know who you are, they don't know what the PTSO Gmail is or whatever, reach out to the school, and their schools can reach out to you. They can always contact you, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll go on to the next question. What do you feel like is the most important way to help organizations build strong relationships with administration and staff? Because I know that was a really key component of the success. That's how we got to know each other pretty well. So tell me a little bit about how you prioritize that.
Well, in my experience, it was what made a difference for me from when my boys were in school versus when my girls were in school was just being present at the school.
Okay.
Just being there, participating. I know it is very much appreciated when we're there, working with you side by side, and in any way or capacity we can. Yeah.
Schools really do want it to be a partnership. There is the value of parent involvement cannot be overstated. As a principal, I can tell you that is the one thing that I and the teachers value the most, because your kids need you, right? Like our kids need us to be present. Now that I have students that are no longer at Jamaica, right? And I am now in a part of the Thunderbolt PTAC also, because of the fact that, okay, well, I better pay attention because now I'm no longer a staff in that school and I need to make sure I know what's going on. And sometimes that's hard. You know, parents are busy. Sometimes parents are sharing duties at two different houses. There's a lot of components that go into trying to manage all of that. But I'm trying to make sure that we can touch base on getting this information out to those parents, so that if they really want to get involved, but they just don't know how or need advice, that we can give that to them. Okay, so what opportunities? I'm going to take a little different angle on this now. What opportunities do you feel like we have as a district to improve the ways that our schools involve parents at the school level? Do you have advice for us so that we can help us?
I mean, I think that every school does its best to communicate at any angle. I don't necessarily think there's such an improvement, but if we can utilize what's prominent right now, which is online, right, social media and such. So, or I don't know, maybe putting a survey out there and asking the parents themselves, what could we do for you to improve this? Sure.
Okay. And what are ways that parents can reach out and better serve school communities? I mean, what are the different ways? PTSO is not the only way to serve in our serve the kids in our schools or in the community. So what are some of the ways that you've gotten involved, and what are some of the things that you know that parents can do to? I know for Jamaica, one of the things that you got involved with in addition to PTSO was the site council, and I'll ask you a little bit about that in a minute. But what are some other ways that you think parents can serve our schools?
I think the most prominent area that comes to mind is communicating with your teacher.
Yeah.
That is the biggest area I see that has made the most effect.
Okay.
Coming from a parent, communicating with a teacher, asking that teacher, what does he or she need? What can I do to help? Whether it's through private messaging, through an app, or through what have you. And then what I've heard from feedback from teachers as well, not only on the elementary level, but at middle school as well, is that helps them feel that they have options. They have other alternatives than the principal, the admin, the school district, needing those areas, those immediate areas that we can help as a parent.
Well, and I think also building, like when you build that connection with the teacher, I mean, whatever your student's going through, whether the student is successful academically or they're struggling academically, or whether they're having, middle schoolers need support.
It immediately, when you start communicating with that teacher, it creates that bridge, right? He or she knows that they can talk to you and reach out to you, but also that bridge to communicate about your child. But it also makes that teacher feel, okay, this parent cares. This parent's going to help me if I need help, good or bad.
Absolutely.
Right? And it gives a sense of relief, and it takes that pressure off.
Right. So
that's what I hear, and I've experienced my feedback.
Well, I'll second that, because I would say as a teacher and a principal, that was, if you're going to be involved anywhere, it should be with your child's teacher for sure. Okay. So I'm going to go back to that site council perspective. So coming from your perspective as a member of our site council, because you were part of the Jamaica Site Council, and I know you're involved at Thunderbolt as well. What are the things you think parents can benefit from in being involved in these types of meetings at the schools? Because those are different types of meetings.
They are. I would say that it's awareness, right? It's going to allow those parents or the people to find out what is going on at the schools, what is in need of, at the school, at the school level and such, and just what's going on with our district.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It gives another facet of an opportunity to find out rather than having to physically go to some of these meetings at the school district and such.
Well, and I think for those parents who don't know what the site council really is, a site council is a partnership. It's administrators, parents, community members, teachers, all coming together. Yeah, and the purpose is to really take a look at all the aspects of leadership around the school, within the school, all the types of things we're doing, and to really assess how we're doing. And what we need to do to improve, right? Yeah, and utilize data and utilize really quantitative, qualitative data, talk about all things from different perspectives, right? So, and so that's the purpose of the site council. And typically there's small groups of people, but I often don't see enough people on the site councils. There's not enough representation. So I love to see parents get involved because as an administrator, I know it was always extremely important to me to hear those perspectives. And often we have parents who are there in the role of a parent, and others who are there in the role of as a community member, because you're both, right? And from a business perspective as well. So because we are a smaller community, of course, we're all working together. So absolutely. Yeah, I've had parents who actually stayed on the site council when they left Jamaica because they were still coming there from the community side of things, right? So the last question really is, so our parent organizations are always looking for ways to improve engagement of parents. What are some of the ways, you've given some examples of this, but what are ways that you would encourage more parents to become involved? What are the top 3 things that you could narrow down? You said, I'm going to start with your first and best suggestion so far, which is communicate with your teacher. What are the other 2 that you want to dial in on? I would say that just if you can volunteer, if you can help out in any way, shape, or form, once you communicate, whether it's at the teacher level or with your school, just see what is it that you can do, what is it that you can give back, what else can you help with, right? And third is awareness, just taking the time to be aware of what's going on, not only with our schools but with our community. Awareness is big. So, and taking to that point, one of the things that we had discussed earlier is that parents get busy, they have a lot of things going on, and I think oversaturation of like phones, social media, emails, all the things, sometimes it's hard and you get lost, right? But primarily if you know that it comes from your school, make sure you stop, make sure you read, because some of it's not going to be stuff that you're super you absolutely had to know, but most of the time there's at least 1 or 2 things that are going to directly impact your student. Especially if it's stuff for the beginning of the year, and so I would agree with that 100%. Thank you for that suggestion. Absolutely. Okay, so that's the end of that piece. We're now going to have a little bit of fun together. All right. And let them get to know you a little bit more. Okay, so what was your favorite thing about where you went to high school? What was my favorite thing about the school, or? And about going to high school and... in high school, I would say sports. I was highly year-round active in sports and clubs as well, but mainly sports. Sports is what did it for me. Okay. And was that your driver? Yes. Yeah, that's what connected me to high school. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so if you could have any parent superpower, what would it be? Parent superpower? Healing. Oh. Healing is good. Healing is good at all levels. Yeah. Yeah, I would love to have that power. Absolutely. Okay. What would you tell your 10-year-old self? I know you got some girls that are growing up now, to give them perspective. What would I tell my 10-year-old self? Oh, that's a tough one. I'm assuming it's advice you probably give to your girls all the time. I know. I think that it's about being open with meeting new people. So friendships, meeting new people, and to not only just focus on smaller groups, just having more of an open mind,
so that you're able to just be open to meeting new people.
Yeah.
Because you're going to want new friends, and you're going to want to grow and experience things. And if you're just collaborating with the same people or same person, you're just limiting yourself.
Absolutely.
So we do talk about a lot about that.
That's such a great suggestion. That's not one I've heard yet. That was a really good suggestion.
Good.
Okay. What was your favorite subject in school and your worst?
Believe it or not, math. Most people, it's not.
That
math.
was your favorite?
That was my favorite, and it just was
good
easy.
for you.
It was fun to do. I know, and then of course I ended up doing it in college and such. Yeah. So math. Yeah.
And
worst subject? Well, it was definitely not PE. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, I love PE too.
Yeah.
God, worst subject? I would say what was it? Social studies.
Oh, history.
History.
Oh.
It was just boring to me.
Is it still boring?
Isn't that sad to say? But because you want to know about what happened in the past. But that's my perspective. It's the past is the past. I have no control over it. The knowledge of it, does it help me presently? Not sure. So moving forward, I'm more of a forward thinker than the past. So
Okay.
I would still say that.
What type of learner are you?
I think a visual.
Okay.
More visual.
You like to see things.
I need to have visual and people interaction.
Okay. Where did you go to college?
In Fullerton, California.
Okay. That's great. You already answered the question for ELA or math. It's math.
Yes.
PE or art, I'm guessing. PE. And what did you want to be when you grew up?
A pediatrician.
Oh, me too.
Medical field, yeah.
Oh.
A doctor, a pediatrician, specifically.
How come you didn't? I know why I didn't. But
so it was distractions.
Oh,
it's always distractions with everybody, right? But I found out that, so this is a great question because I can even share my experience. When I got to high school, I was pre-med, and I was all about it, but I didn't have enough guidance to help me find out what I could do or utilize those tools to become a doctor. And when I started finding out and doing the research and how many years and how much money it was going to cost, I immediately gave up on it. Fear, right?
Me too.
Of the unknown. But I think that if I had a stronger counselor, stronger guidance, or options of somebody to help me guide that way, or tell me, yes, you can do it. It's a matter of, we'll get you grants, we'll get you this, we'll get you that, to help pay for that schooling, because my family, we didn't have the money for that. I was being raised by a single mom. My dad had died when I was really young. So I thought, how can my mom pay for this? How can I pay for it? And so it's put a stop. And to think that I could have went in the medical field had I had the proper guidance, I probably would be a doctor today.
So that's so interesting, and I think such an important piece of advice too, because like for parents listening, I'm sure there's parents out there who have kids who are either confused or maybe think they have a direction, but they're facing fears because they don't know. I'll tell you, I'm very thankful because our career center at the high school is pretty phenomenal. But if there are parents who aren't aware of the Career Center or aren't aware of all the things, you have to reach out. You have to make sure that you're calling to, and if your kids have questions, making sure that they know where those resources are, right?
Exactly.
So thank you for that. That was a really good, okay. And then the last one is, what was your favorite book that you remember as a child?
Charlotte's Web.
It's a great
one. I know, it's a good one though. But, it's such a good book.
And it's still fun to read to the girls, I'm sure. Okay, well, so I'm just really excited that you were able to bring a lot more of the parents' perspective for us today. Thank you so much for coming, spending the time, and just for all that you do to give back to the schools.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Okay. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun. I can't say that enough. The excitement from the teachers, the staff, but your kids, seeing you participate and help at events, fundraisers, that's the most important, is the connection with your children. Absolutely.
Thank you again for today, and thank you for all that you do. I'm grateful for you.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Thanks.
We want to take the time today to thank you and Shawn Lawless from 32 Bravo Media for helping make our Raising Scholars broadcast a reality. You can tune into this or any new episode at our LHUSD website on the communications page, on our LHUSD Facebook page, our YouTube channel, or linked into our quarterly newsletters. Don't forget to tune in to our next episode. We can't wait to see you there, because at the end of the day, the most important and overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of their parents.